So 2024 has been a pretty good year for Tomb Raider. Earlier this year, we managed to get a remastered set for the original Tomb Raider classics. The reception from the fans was that this collection set was very faithful to the originals, while allowing both new and old players to the series to dive in and have a great time. Personally, I really love the graphical upgrade that it got, and you can swap between the new and old graphics at any time. Again, it was really nice having a set of developers come in and manage to respect the games they were remastering, where there have sadly been cases with remasters coming out and felt like very little attention or love was given to them. I think these Tomb Raider ones have that love and care that we want for every one of the remasters that come out. These were a success, and now more remasters are on the way, and recently Aspyr had an interview with an Xbox publication, and they seem to infer that maybe more future Tomb Raider projects are on the way as well. A good portion of the beginning of the article is dedicated to some of the regular fluff that comes from write-ups like this before a major game release. What's in the collection, what does it offer players, that type of stuff. Honestly, this was kind of refreshing just reading an article like this with no agenda trying to be inserted into it at all. It wasn't like the interviewer was like, after Trump got elected, how will this be reflected in-game? What do Tomb Raiders need to fear? Or some garbage nonsense like this. This reminded me of a vanilla, but a good write-up from back in the day. I do like how Aspyr talks about how there are options being added to the remaster, with the option to then toggle them off if the player doesn't want it. Again, a remaster is a good opportunity to make a game more accessible too, but allowing for those options is great. Play the game with some of the modern enhancements along with being able to toggle them off, especially for those that just want a very traditional experience. It's like they have a lot of different players in mind. So overall, I think that stuff is really cool, and there's even going to be a timed exclusive level that's going to be available to all players in the new remastered set. An aspect that I think many of us are kind of curious about regarding this new set of remasters is with Angel of Darkness. This was the first PS2 Tomb Raider game, and it was a game that ended up sinking the original team. I know it had a very troubled development, and I guess it was supposed to kick off a new trilogy, but sadly none of that happened. Aspyr says that it's going to be optimized. What that means, I don't know, but if they are able to present a better version of Angel of Darkness, that could be a way to revive that game, and then help it to get even more attention. One thing does seem to be clear, is that while this team wanted to honor the classic games, they mentioned how they did not expect the overwhelming positive response to their remastered work so far. I think this is a key thing to note too. The first collection very much has been very well received, and as I understand it, it's sold well too. This shows fans and players are hungry for more Tomb Raider, especially those classic experiences. With all that being said, maybe that means that there's room for a new Tomb Raider game. Maybe something made in this classic style. So there is a comment that sort of gets me on this path. Easily the best part of the interview is right here. This is what Aspyr says. Right now we are fully focused on delivering the best experience with the new Tomb Raider remastered set. However, we're always listening to the community and exploring new ways to celebrate Lara Croft's legacy, whether it's revisiting other titles or new surprises. We're excited about what the future holds for this franchise. That right there is a great way to answer that question. Nothing is specifically stated, but a lot can be inferred from it. This means that they are actively looking at continuing this Lara Croft train that they've started this year. Plus, when you pair this with the prior comment about the first remastered collection being very well received, you know an executive is looking at all of this and thinking, how can we make more money here? And then when you have a porting crew like the ones that Aspyr is working with Saber, then that right there might be the best situation for us to see more Tomb Raider titles coming, and for me personally, I think this could mean seeing the Tomb Raider Legend trilogy being remastered. Now, if Aspyr is to go further and make more remasters, it would logically make sense that they tackle the Legend trilogy. They mentioned revisiting other titles. After the classic games, what else do you have left? You have the Legend trilogy along with some other fun, smaller titles that were also made during that time, and then you have the Survivor trilogy. I have seen some Tomb Raider fans comment, why bother remastering the Legend trilogy? You can still play them today. Well, it is true, it is mostly accessible. I think there is a lot to still gain from a remastered collection option set there. For one, yes, you can find Legend on the PS5 and 4 now through the classic catalog. All 3 games are also found on the Xbox too, but it's important to note that none of these games really benefit from modern options. They are all currently at 30 FPS, and being able to up the frame rate and resolution would be nice touches to have for console players. Now sure, on PC, this is where you have the best options for the Legend Trilogy, but not everyone games on PC. And then looking at the Switch crowd, so they get to play all the classic games, but they don't have access to the Legend titles. Seems like there is room for these games to get into more players' hands. Then consider that Underworld has key DLC items that are only available on the Xbox. These were levels that were never provided to PC players. So when you combine all of this, along with maybe a new graphical option to toggle between, and other enhancements, that right there is the making for a nice little set. And I for one want this to happen, and after reading this, I think it might. Something else I want to take from this interview too is how Aspyr infers to new surprises. What would be really interesting would be if Aspyr and then this porting crew are able to take a stab at making their own brand new Tomb Raider title. I know that a new Tomb Raider game is being made by Crystal Dynamics, and while I enjoyed their work on the recent Survivor Trilogy, I think it is time that we go back to a more classic Lara, especially with her characterization. We need to see her in action like she would be with the classics or with the Legend Trilogy. So as of right now, I really do not know what direction that game is going to take, but the idea of having a new title be more in line with the classics, now that is an interesting idea. Could we live in a world where we have 2 different companies making 2 different Tomb Raider titles in 2 completely different styles? Personally, I think this would be a really good thing. You could have a legacy line of new games, along with this new Tomb Raider by Crystal. Along with that, Saber has more than proved that they not only care about the property, but they get what fans want from it. While I love the Legend Trilogy, and I would love to see a new game in that style, I would be in full support for a new classic Lara that both brings the sounds and even feels from those older titles. Plus, look at the indie space. New retro titles are really big. I mean, look at the boomer shooter genre. Tomb Raider fans are hungry, and they want more new good Tomb Raider. Those classic fans and all-around Tomb Raider fans are buying these remasters, which means the audience is there. Plus, since Saber has been able to essentially see how the sausage was made by working on these remasters, that tells me they deserve a shot at trying to make their own from scratch. I think they would do a good job. Look, none of this is certain. We don't know what these future projects are or what the surprises will end up being. For all we know, it could be a new mobile game, but the prospect of getting the Legend Trilogy remastered, along with a new title in that classic style, I think all of these are good things. I wonder if we will get any other news later next year, after the new remastered set drops. Until then, I'll keep pulling for more Legend love. What are your thoughts on all of this? Would you like to see a Legend set? And if Saber was to make a new classic Tomb Raider game, how would you want that to look? Let me know all of this in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can help to keep this channel going strong, and this allows me to be able to do more for my awesome audience. Please check out the links in the description and pinned comment for ways to support the channel. And most of all, thank you very much for watching.